All right. I think we are live, everybody. At least that's what the powers that be are telling me. um, Let me know very quickly if you guys can see me, if you can hear me, if everything is working all in order. Just give me like a yay, nay, any of that stuff. I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me, that you can see me, and that we are all good to go. And then as soon as I get that from y'all, then we're good to go. And why don't you just tell me where you guys are from? Um, and I can say hi to you guys. Looks like we got people from all over the world. We got northern Colorado, Sweden, lots of Sweden, Portland. I used to live in Portland for a couple of years. More Canada, Alberta, Calgary. Lots of cool people here. Super cool. So I'm assuming we are good to go and that everybody can hear me and everything's going okay. All good. Okay, great. Okay, guys, so let's not waste any time. I'm not going to bore you with like an unbelievably long intro. um, I'm super, super excited to be here. Let me just kind of give a framework for what we're going to do today. Everybody's tuning in from all over the world. I see people from France, Canada, Atlanta, Colorado, everywhere, NYC, which is awesome. I'm based out of NYC. I'm in New York City. Very quick snapshot of who I am and what we're going to be doing today. So I'm Blake, and I am teaming up with Musician on a Mission to do some mastering for you guys and just give you a live mastering workshop of an amazing song that I worked on that we're going to just look at. This is the actual session, and we're going to get into that. So setting the agenda here, what we're going to do is I'm going to walk through for about 30 minutes this song. It's actually a Skrillex and Korn song. So it's kind of like EDM meets hard rock. So Skrillex is the EDM, obviously, and then Korn is the hard rock. And this is a mashup that they did together. And this is the stem master. So I'm going to go into a little bit of what this all is, what stem mastering is, how I did this, and so forth. And then the second thing we're going to do for the next 30 minutes. So the first 30 minutes is full on mastering. The next 30 minutes is we're going to do live Q&A with me, and I have all your questions here, and I'll be able to look through all of it, and we should be rocking and rolling that way. Now, the live Q&A you want to stay for because of two reasons. One, I'm going to directly respond to you guys, and honestly, like mastering just seems to be something that not many people know a lot about. So, it'd be good to talk about it and answer your questions directly. So anything you've ever wanted to know about mastering, you can ask. Anything that you have a question on here, you can ask. But more importantly, you absolutely want to stay to the end because I'm going to open up my calendar, actually, like me and my team's calendar, and we're going to basically give you an opportunity to chat with me or my team to, drumroll, to talk more in depth about how I can help you with mastering, but it's totally no friction whatsoever. It's not anything other than wanting to dive into your music and explore what you're doing and seeing if you need to be concentrating on mixing or stem mastering or business stuff even. I just got to figure out what the best option is. So the best way that we can do that is by jumping on a call. So super huge value today. So, right, like one is we get to see a live master in person just like this. I'll show you everything I did and kind of my thought process, more importantly. Two, ask questions, Q&R, if you will. And then three, if you want to go in deeper, I'm just opening up our calendar just for the Musician on a Mission guys and gals so that we can dive into more specific strategy for what you're doing and see if I can help you. So this is what I do. Let's shift gears now into the training side of things. So if you don't know me, I'm Blake La Grange, and I'm from New York City. I'm a full-time mastering engineer and educator as well. I am the owner of mastering.com, and with a name like mastering.com, you know I'm very serious about one thing, and that is mastering. And so what we do is we basically teach anybody how to become their own mastering engineers or master for other people. So I mastered like 30,000 songs. There was a time in my life where I was literally like mastering like 10 to 30 songs a day, every single day for years. Built a team of engineers. With mastering.com, we've created in the high hundreds of mastering engineers, and we help people get clients as well. And so this is something I'm very, very passionate about. And more importantly, I'm passionate about it because mastering seems to be the thing that is just the thing you do at the end. But the way that we approach it, or the way that I sort of teach it, is more philosophical. And I go, well, if we can keep the end in mind, it'll change everything. It'll change how we mix. It'll change how we produce, all of that. So I let the mastering process push back on our mix, and you're going to see that in real time. How do we do that? Well, it's very simple. When somebody sends me their final mix to be mastered, this is what ends up happening is they go, hey, Blake, or one of our engineers, could you master this? Thanks so much. 2 thumbs up. Let me know what you think. And so what I will do is I'll listen to it and I'll go, you got to change this about your mix. And I'm wearing my mastering engineer's cap. And then if you change that, you can send it back to me and I can go for it. And what I'm doing is I'm pushing back on the mix and the production to get a better result at the end. So what ended up happening was everybody started hitting me up and saying, hey, like, I need your ears on this. So that's really what mastering is I'm hoping to give you guys a perspective of keeping the end in mind and realizing that as a mastering engineer, the thing that I do and the thing we teach everybody else to do is that you don't get paid or you don't show off your skill set just because you can master. You actually get paid for your ears and your mindset and how you push back. So now, honestly, when people send me tracks or our engineers tracks, it's not, hey, can you master this? It's, hey, get your ears. Let me know what I need to change so that you can master this. So that's what I'm hoping to do. And guys, please don't just watch for entertainment, although this is kind of entertaining because we're looking at cool songs here. I really want you to try to apply this to your own music, and hopefully you can get some great takeaways here. So let's dive in, guys. Without further ado, for the next 25 minutes, I will show you this song, what I did. So we're doing a stem master. Now, I apologize if you know what that is. I'm going to explain a little bit. If you don't know what that is, then you're in a good place because I'm going to show you what that is. Basically, the post-production process looks like this, guys. We have mixing, which is after you've produced, recorded everything, you have everything laid down, and you just want to mix it. That's mixing, okay? Then you have mastering, where you take the final mix, you bounce it down to one final mix file with a little bit of headroom, and then you master it. And so everything is consolidated, your 30, 60, 100 tracks down into one track, final mix, and then you master it. So the definition of mastering isn't to get the polish of things. It's really what it is, actually, is consolidating multiple tracks down to one. That's what it is. So as you continue to consolidate down your 100 tracks, 60 tracks, 30 tracks, or whatever, your whole job is, I just need to get this to one file. So when you think about that on the mastering side of things, when you go into the mixing side of things, it's easy to say, okay, I have 100 tracks, I'm just going to make it all sound good. At the end of the day, you gotta somehow get down to one track, though. So that's what we need to be thinking of. The definition of mixing, the definition of mastering, is getting all of your tracks down to one single file. Now, mastering takes care of a couple things here. It takes care of sonic processing and dynamic processing. Sonic being kind of the obvious thing, EQ, how things sound sonically, right? Dynamic processing is more like compression, limiting, and so forth. So those are the two kind of major drivers. Okay, I won't bore you anymore. There's mixing is mastering, right? There's something kind of in the middle, which is stem mastering. And with mastering.com, we'll do stem masters for everybody. But it's kind of the best of both worlds. And we teach people how to do this all the time. What it is instead of consolidating your 30 tracks, 60 tracks, or whatever down to one track and then mastering it with some EQ, compression, and so forth, what you'll do is you'll put all of the drums into like one stereo track, all of the bass into one stereo track, and so forth. And you'll get 5 stems or 5 tracks or whatever. And then you'll send that off and go, I want this stem mastered. Now, common misconception about what stem mastering is. By the way, that's what we're doing. We're doing a stem master here. What we're going to do with this stem master, of this Korn Skrillex song is we're going to take a look at how to approach this not as a mixing engineer. So everybody thinks that a stem master is I put everything, I have 5, 6, 7 stems or whatever, and I do like a mix or a master or something of each one of these stems. I want to make sure every little stem sounds the best they can. And really what it turns into is it turns into a mix. And that's not what we want to do. What we're actually going to do is pretend we don't have the stems and we're just going to go into mastering. So, okay, without further ado, let's take a listen. First of all, this is the session. No outboard gear, all digital, some UAD stuff, mostly UAD stuff. A free spectrum analyzer. This is the session, guys. I mean, here it is. So I'm not hiding anything here. Here's the session. What I want to do is I want to bypass all of the processing that we've done. The final stem master session. I'll keep this up here. And let's take a quick listen at what we got going on. So I'll play it for a minute or so, jump around, and you guys can take a listen. So here we go. All right, you guys get it. So this is a super cool tune. Whether you like this kind of music or not, you got to admit it's pretty cool in that everything sounds really objectively cool and good, at least sonically speaking. Yo, guys, there's no plugins on this. I mean, everything's bypassed and it sounds amazing. First and foremost, lesson number 1, get your stuff sounding really good before you get stem mastering and mastering. Even in fact, in our mastering, like when I help people get mastering really underneath their in their tool belt, I encourage them to eventually get to the place where they're scratching their head and they have no idea what to do with the master. So that is where we want to be. We're raising the bar. Okay. So let's do this. Obviously, right now, this is a lot quieter than it needs to be. But once we get it all mastered, it's going to be brought up to the level that it needs to be. Okay, so here we go. Now, you might think, okay, the first thing that I have to do is I got to start with drums. And I just do this and I process this. I got to make this sound as good as possible. Okay, the second thing, now percussion. I got to just go through and make sure every single thing sounds good. No. Bad. That is mixing. Okay. This is stem mastering we have to do. Here's a really good kind of secret, really good kind of approach here is the way that you approach stem mastering is you pretend that you don't have any of these tracks. Okay. So you start making mastering decisions first, and then you go, okay, if I were to master this, I would be doing this, this, and this on the final master bus. And then when you go, oh, I really wish I had that stem, you go, oh, I have it. And then you go back and do it. So you're using the final master bus processing to go back and solve these problems. And that'll leave you with something like this. Like this synth doesn't have anything on it. You know, like, and there's only one plugin. It's pretty simple stuff. For cool factor here, let's just take a listen to each one of these tracks. They might be a little quiet because they're on master, but let's just take a listen here. Cool. CPU overload. Pro Tools users know what that's all about. Percussion. More CPU overload, which is awesome. And then bass. Notice the percussion was just it was so thin. It was just like hi-hats and stuff. Bass, you're gonna get a trip out of this. Just sounds like a thin, boring, weird bass with no low end. And then the bass synth is what takes up all the low end. So when you combine these two, the bass and the bass the bass synth. Oh wait, I gotta change my settings here. Okay. So all it is doing is basically says, "Hey, Korn's playing bass here," and so we just need to hear it. Okay. And then we have some rhythm guitar here, which is just standard. Actually sounds kind of bad, doesn't it? Like really low quality. It's all down-tuned and weird. Let's listen to this guitar here. Okay, so we have some delay and stuff, a little lead thing. Here's the synth. Sounds like an organ, just like your classic Skrillex organ. It's already sidechained, all cool. All the synths, you can notice all the synths are being consolidated down to this. The vocal. Sometimes I hate. Cool. Love that we're running into the buffer problems, but that's okay. That's just Pro Tools for you. Background vocals. Alrighty, that's what we got. So here's what we do, y'all. First thing you want to do when you do a stem master, you want to basically assume that you don't have all these tracks. And then you just want to go, okay, if I were to master this just as one file, what would I do? And let's take a listen. And obviously we can't get into a bunch of detail here, but I just want to show you my thought process. I'm going to have the spectrum analyzer up so that you know what in the world we're hearing / seeing. It just helps. Okay, look at this scoop right here. You see this, y'all? Big scoop. Big scoop. Alrighty. So, as a mastering engineer, generally speaking, don't kill me for this, but generally speaking, a great final master is a nice flat sort of response from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. It's just nice and flat. Generally speaking, okay? I'm not saying that's what we aim for all the time, but you know that you're in a good spot if everything's pretty flat. So the one thing I'm looking for is this. It's the first thing we have to go for is problems, okay? And the second thing we have to go for is enhancements. What you don't want to do is go, how do I make everything sound better? No good. That's like amateur hour, okay? Do that in the mix. This is, what's the main fundamental problem, the desert island problem that we have here? What is it? Is there a problem? Well, this is a hard question to answer because it sounds pretty dang good. I mean, this is Korn and Skrillex. Like, Skrillex knows what he's doing, and Korn does as well. And Skrillex actually ended up mixing this. So he knows what he's doing. Sounds great. So what in the world are they paying me to do this for? Well, I'm showing you. What's the one fundamental thing? The first thing I'm hearing is, well, it's pretty scooped. It's pretty scooped. So what I want you to not do is go ahead and take this away and say, okay, Blake said to scoop, if things are too scooped, to have them not be scooped. That's not what I want you to do. It's just an observation. And for your mixes or anybody else's mixes that you're working with, it could be other things. The problem could be there's too much low end, there's too much high end. But you got to think it from a 30,000 foot view. You don't want to think, oh, I love that drum sample. It's none of that. It's just generally speaking, 30,000 foot view. Sonically, forget about dynamics. Sonically, what's the main problem? And the main problem, if I could only just pick one thing, is it's scooped. So what would I do? Well, let's take a look here. This looks like Final Master stuff, so ignore that for a second. What I would do is I would normally go to my master fader, and I'd put a plugin in like Pultec or SSL or whatever, and I'd go to like, 700 or 1,000 or whatever, and I'd try to just find that scooped. It's like 800, 1,000-ish. I don't know. It's a little bit of a scoop going on. Let's take a listen again here. Here we go. Here's our big scoop, guys. You see it? Zoop. Nice big scoop. So I would normally go, okay, I'm gonna bring that up. But then I go, well, if I bring that up, I'm gonna get a little bit of the vocals, and I don't know if I want all those vocals because the vocals pretty mid-rangey. What's scooped? And if I'm honest with myself, it's the drums. The drums are super scooped. So normally I'd go to the master and I'd just put a Pultec on there and I'd boost 800 hertz or something like that. And I'd go, okay, cool. It's not as scooped. I have a little bit more mid-range than what I wanted because I brought the vocals and everything else with me. But really, man, if I had the stems, I would honestly just boost the mid-range of the drums. What do you know? We have, it's so cheesy. We have the stems. Here's what I did. EQ in. Look at this. It's like 800 to 1 point. So basically 900 or 1,000 or so. It's the high mid-range area that we want brought out, okay? It's super subtle, but I just added, 3 or 4 decibels or so. Take a listen. Bypass. In. Man, is that subtle. Hear that? Now there it is. If I boosted it like 10, 15 decibels, I'm like, yeah, that's where it is. Let's listen again. Bypass. Now you hear it. There we go. Now amateur hour over here would just be like, cool. I love these drum sounds. I made it sound so much better. I love the mid-range. I did my processing. And I might go into compression world and I might go, oh, maybe I should do stereo imaging. Maybe I should ask, no, that's mixing world. The fact that I boosted 10 decibels here right now to show you the sound that I liked is like basically no. So I turned this up to show you all what I did and what the frequency range is. But now that it's up there, I kind of like it. And I go, cool, that sounds so much better. I mean, before and after, listen to this. So much punch here. I mean, it's so great. But wait a second. I'm a mastering engineer. I'm not allowed to do that. So I have to boost it to where I find what I love. Yes, that's it. And then I need to bring it back to where it's like, yeah, this is what I would do if I were mixing. And then I need to bring it back again. And I need to force myself not to go too far. Because Skrillex is going to be really pissed at me if I sent him this. Okay. So that's exactly what I did. I found the frequency I liked and then I boosted it down because I'm a good guy. I'm a mastering engineer, right? I can't be messing up their mix, okay? There we go. That's all we need. That's all I'm allowed to do, really. Okay, while I'm at it, I have this plugin up. Okay, I put a little high pass filter at 18 or 10 or whatever because we don't need any of that. I just figured I'd do that. Look, no compression, nothing else. It's just a boost here, a kind of a broadband boost. And now we have a little bit more rounded out of a mix. Let's take a listen. You guys get it. Look at that, nice and flat, okay? Just a little thing I did there. Okay, cool. Well, what else? Well, there's all these other things that I added, but I what I want to do, I don't want to get into as long as I did with every one of these, but that's the kind of process that I use. Is I think through, gosh, what's the problem? What do I want to do? And then I go, if I had the stems, I would fix it. And I go, oh, I do have the stems, and then I go do it. Okay, so I don't go and I go, okay, well, how can I make this sound better? How can I make this sound better? How can I make that's like amateur hour, like mixing world. We don't want to do that. We want to go. Again, final master. If I were to just do one thing, what would it be? I analyze, I listen, and I go, oh, I really just need to bring up the mid range. I go, okay, cool. Well, if I bring up the mid, and you do the whole mental gymnastics. If I bring up the mid range, then the vocal is going to come out, and that's not going to be good. And okay, well, maybe I should just do it on the drums because that's really scoop. Oh, I have the drums, boom, and I do it. That's what I want to get you in. If I just give you with tips and tricks of like some good EQs on drums, it's not going to help you. It's not going to transform what you're doing. You need to understand the philosophy and the mental template in order to be super successful at this. So that's what I did with every single one of these tracks every single one of these stems. Just for clarity here, the second sort of problem, and then we'll wrap up with this. The second sort of problem is it's all pretty. Besides it being quiet, it's all pretty. It's like a blanket over the speakers. So normally, what do? Grab a Pultec on the master. I start boosting, and I did that on the Clariphonic. That's like a high-end booster. And then let's see, the Pultec, I ended up doing that as well. 3 decibels, or 3 dB, 3K, around 3 dB or so, but not a lot. I didn't do a lot. Why? Because I had the stems. If I didn't have the stems, I'd go to my Pultec and go to 8K, 10K, and I'd boost 5 decibels, and I'd be like, cool, that's great. But once I do that, I go, well, why am I boosting that? Well, because it's too dark. There's blankets on the speakers. Well, what sits up there? What am I going to be boosting if I boost that? I'm certainly not going to be boosting a bass guitar. There's nothing up there. Maybe the synths, probably not the guitars. Maybe the vocals. In fact, absolutely the vocals. The S's. Oh, what do you know? I have the vocals. It's wrong every time. And what do you know? They sound dull AF. So here's what I did. Let's brighten this up. Okay. EQ in. Look at this. 11, 12K. And I boosted it this much here. Let's just bring this up a bit here to hear it. Every time. Pushing on, I can't escape everything that comes my way. There it is. Oh, that's where I want it. I want it like 12 decibels. Now it sounds normal. Now it sounds processed. Now it sounds great. They're going to be so happy about this. No, I'm not a mixing engineer right now. I'm a mastering engineer. I'm a stem mastering engineer. So I find the frequency I like, boost it all the way to make sure that it's the one I like, back it off to say like, this is how it'll sound good in my ears. And then I keep backing it off. Subtle changes. I think it was somewhere like this. And then what do you know? I went ahead and brought in a high pass filter at 70 hertz or so to get rid of some of the low end because we don't need that. And that makes it sound brighter. Okay. Then the background vocal. I did the same thing, just a little bit more. I probably copy and pasted this, it looks like. And now, what do you know? The whole mix is brighter, and I don't have to bring up random tracks like the bass guitar or the drums that sound fine. I really just need the S's and the diction of the vocals in order to get that high end. So now we'll take a listen to what we have here. Fantastic. Okay, so what I'll do, just for sake of time here, I want to get to your questions. I did that with every single one of these stems. That is to say, what is that? I did that philosophical template, back and forth. What's my next major number one problem? Okay, scooped. Got it. Okay, well, let me just bring it up. Oh, wait. What? That's bringing up the vocals. I don't want to do that. What's the thing that's the most scooped? The drums. I wish I had the stems. I do have the stems. Boom. Address it. Got it. Let's listen again. Big picture. What else is there? Okay, blanket over the speaker. That's the number one problem. Blanket over the speaker. Okay, boost high end, 10, 12K or whatever. 3, 4, 5, 6 decibels. Cool, sounds great. wait a second, it's bringing up the hi-hat. I don't want that. Rather than going from 6 decibel boost up there down to 3 because I don't like the hi-hat, I wish I just had the stems of the vocals because that's really what I want. Oh my gosh, I do. Boom, vocals. Address that problem. Nothing else. Don't add anything else. Just address it subtly. Go back. Okay, sounds great. What next? And just doing that sort of pushing back on the process. And what happened was I did that for every single one of these tracks. And if I went into my thought process with each one, it would take multiple hours because I talk a lot. But this song took me about 15 minutes to master. So it's not the tips and tricks. It's not the how to. It's not the what. It's the why. If you can understand the main philosophical problem that I'm trying to tell you all today, you'll be able to execute this pretty quickly to the point where you don't have these templates. You have mental templates. So it's not like, hey, Blake, send me this mastering template. It's like, no, send me your mental template. Like that's the thing that's most valuable. So once you have that mental template, you can get this done in 15 minutes. So think about that too. Like 15 minutes. I remember I was like doing recording engineering for the longest time, and the studio that I was working out of needed $500 to like just survive every day. $500 a day. I would charge $100 a day on top of that, so the band would pay me $600. And I'd spend like 12 hours, with like sweaty musicians. And I remember what my first stem master and master project, it took me longer than it took me an hour to do a song, and I got paid $150. I remember that. And I was like, wait a second, an hour's worth of work for $150 or 12 hours for $100. Like, I'm in the wrong industry here. And so this, I forget what I got paid for this, but I can tell you right now, it was well worth the 15 minutes it took me. And then once you're done with all that, you guys, and then I'll open up for questions. Once you're done with all that sort of problem solving, then you do a general subtle master on top of this. And this is something we go over and I teach thousands of people to do. What I ended up doing was just a little bit of subtle brightening and low end. Of course, we're getting the spinning wheel of death. There we go. And then, guys, I just use a default stuff. Like, not default, but no outboard gear. That's all I used. And so let's listen to the final master. I wish we can go into this more, but we don't have time for this. Let's listen to how it sounds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to bypass everything slowly, like boom, boom, boom. I'm just going to bypass it all individually. There it is. So you go from, oh, that sounds pretty good, and then like you start bypassing things. It's like, wait, that sounds like a wet blanket. So I'm going to do the opposite now. I'm going to just slowly impact things moving forward, and then we'll open up for Q&A. Alrighty, there you guys go. I could do this for hours. I literally do. Like there's like in our training platform that we have for mastering.com, there's literally a lesson or a video of me mastering stuff like this for 5 hours straight. I literally sit in front of the console and master for 5 hours straight, and that's all. So I literally could do this for hours, and I do. So let's shift gears a little bit. What I want you to do is two things. Let's go into a live Q&A. So let's do this. Here's what I want you to do. Okay, there's a little call to action, if you will. If you have any questions at all about what in the world I just did, or if you have any questions about mastering or STEM mastering or anything, now's your chance to talk to me for 30 minutes about this for the next 30 minutes. So let's do that right now. The second thing I want you to do is if you want to personally talk with somebody from me or my team from mastering.com to see if you want to like get even deeper into this and be like, dang, I learned a lot and I really feel like STEM mastering and mastering is the key or secret to like holding back getting like really pro level mixes. Or I feel like I'm 90% there, but I want to get to 100% there. Or I feel like I'm a fantastic engineer and I want to offer mastering services to people. Or I feel like I'm just starting out and I don't even know if mastering should be something I'm worried about. Or if my room just sucks and is it my room? Or can, all of that stuff. We have these calls just for musician on a mission people to chat and find that out. So during those calls, what we'll do is we'll just like get to know you, figure out what's going on, ask you questions, try to find the problem, and maybe even see if it makes sense for you to work closely with me so I can mentor you through this process. So this is all I do full time. This is like literally all I do. So that is it. I would encourage you to do these two things. Start typing in your questions right now, and I can answer them. I'm fielding them right here. And then the second thing, right now, go to mastering.com/session and book a call with me and my team. And full disclosure, guys, it's like super limited availability, and we may even cancel your call. What ends up happening is if you book a call there, you're going to fill out a survey. We'll send you some training, and then we'll dive into like what it looks like to dive in even deeper. Totally free, guys. Like this is just a special thing we're doing for Musician on a Mission. It's totally like full disclosure, like it's just a free call, and we're gonna help you think through it. And so during this call too, by the way, you should walk away being like, I know exactly what's wrong with my room setup, or if it or my ears or my mind or the way I'm mastering things or the way I'm making money doing this or whatever. You'll just figure out that answer right away. And the second thing too is like, I mean, like I said, 100% of people will just like have instant clarity once they get on the call. The second thing that could happen is if you want to get way deeper into this and you want me to like personally mentor you through this, then that is also an opportunity we can talk about on the phone. More importantly, let's get into the questions. I've got my questions over here on my phone, if you don't mind me doing that. And while we're doing this, go ahead and just type in your questions and also book a call. Let me know, guys, if the calendar gets stacked, because like literally me and my team are just monitoring the calendars right now. Okay, let's dive in. Yeah, Betty, what a cool last name, Boondocker. Go ahead and just schedule a call, Betty. Me or one of my team members wants to talk to you for sure. Pauline, same thing. Just jump on the call and I'll chat with you. Okay, Curtis. Looks like this is a great question here. How often do you get stems to master versus a stereo mixdown, or is that what you specialize in? Fantastic question, Curtis. I'd say 75-80% are stereo masters. Stem masters are for those who have a little bit more dough and who really understand it and want to get that kind of the next level. I will say that I would say the majority of people who do stem mastering and they move forward with that, they expect me to mix it. And I push back pretty hard and say, I don't think you should do this. I think you should mix it and then send it in with a different kind of mindset. So anyways, I specialize in both though. It's like I do them both. Okay, Tally, I'm just starting out with mixing mastering. What do you think are the most important things I could keep in mind? Super great question, Tally. By the way, Curtis, I want to chat with you. So get on the call if you want to chat further about that. Tally, same thing. You just need clarity and you need mentorship and you need somebody to walk you through things. I think if you go down the rabbit hole of listening to a bunch of different people's advice, it might be helpful, but it will probably get more confusing. YouTube can only take you so far, to be honest. So I think if you're just starting out, there's two things you should do. The first thing you should do is just do it. Oh, that sounds silly. Grab any files or sessions you can and just start practicing it. That's the way that I got really good at it. Or I think I got really good at it. The second thing is find a mentor, like find somebody to like help you through that. And so what's great is that Musician on a Mission has all these amazing resources. And I like teach a couple things in like Musician on a Mission programs. And yeah, you could either like work with musician mission or me, you can book a call, and either way, like I'll just tell you, like me or one of the team members will just tell you, like, hey, I really think you should just like push back on maybe just watch YouTube or dive into a mentor session or something. So either way, Tally, we'll just tell you straight up on a call. So I would encourage you to book a call to find out. Let's see here. To be or not to be able. Cool name. I'm glad it was helpful. You lifted the blanket off my understanding of what is mastering. What about adaptation for different output mediums such as YouTube, Spotify, CD, other media? Great question. Yeah, tons of people like get everything sounding loud and then they set it to Spotify and it's like, oh my gosh, they crushed it. The way that I teach people to do things is I get them to a place where they're delivering one file and it's good for all of those mediums. It's a much longer conversation. I would recommend you book a call to find out like a little bit more about that. But I will say this. People think you have to create all these separate files. That's just not true. Keep this in mind. This is a little freebie. If things are clipping or loud, will Spotify turn it down? Not necessarily. What Spotify cares about more, and YouTube as well, is the dynamic range. So you can get something that's clipping but has a ton of dynamic range, and Spotify's not going to touch it. Or you can get something that has no dynamic range. It's just a brick wall, but it's really quiet. Spotify will mess around with that. So it's all about perceived loudness. There's no easy answer. I mean, like we teach on like the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 9th week of like my like mentorship program. We like cover all of that stuff. So if you're curious to know more, just book a call and like maybe I can help a little bit further. Hopefully that makes sense. Andre, do you ever use Ozone? No. Next question. Sam Braun. More and more people listen to music right off their phones, especially when you're a new artist. Do you ever master for the smartphone speaker? Yes, Sam. I do. So like the file that I give the clients or that like what we teach people to do, again, is one file. It's good for phone. It's good for Spotify. It's good for YouTube. It's good for everything. As soon as you start seeing like people start saying you get like 7 different files or you want to get a million different speakers, you're just in the wrong room, the wrong mindset and so forth. So it's a holistic approach. So hopefully that makes sense. Sam, jump on a call though if you want to get a little bit more clarity on that. And sorry, Andre, to write you off, man. Do I ever use Ozone? No. Yeah, I just don't. Ozone's a great educational tool in that it shows you what an algorithm would do, but ultimately you don't want to be tied to an algorithm. I do not use Ozone. That's probably a controversy I just started. Landon, is there a standard LUFS level that you master to? No. Really good question, Landon. I do -9 RMS final master. What's more important though is the dynamic range. So if you have something like a Matt meter, MAAT, Matt meter 2, I believe is the one you want, it'll show you the dynamic range. If you get your masters to -9 RMS and then in the green of dynamic range on the Matt meter, then you're good to go. How to get there, that's a different story, but that's the thing that I do. Spencer, can you please explain how to use a limiter? Yeah, man, I do 2 things. I make sure that my volume is taken care of in 2 ways. So I have like my final compressor / limiter. So, and it's hitting -11. Okay, RMS. And then the limiter should just take care of an extra 2 decibels or so to get to -9. So we're like -8 because it's -7 because this is a freaking EDM Skrillex song, so it's got to be loud. So if your limiter it has like you've turned it up and the input's like 15 or 10 or even 6, like you're doing something wrong. You want to go back and gain stage correctly. The limiter should only be 1 or 2 decibels. You want to pump it as much as you can until you hit it. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to try to get through these questions, guys. Let's see. Spencer, by the way, Spencer, we like go extensively into limiting. Jump on a call too if you're curious about that. Really, really curious to hear what you're dealing with there. Daniel, do you use mid-side processing when mastering? Nope. Mid-side processing is Great for mixing, sometimes good for stem mastering. Really, really great for mixing. Stem mastering, I just don't do it because it introduces phasing, which is bad for vinyl. And I try to get one file that's good for vinyl, YouTube, Spotify, phone, and I teach a philosophy it's all philosophy. It's not like tools or tricks or anything. It's just a philosophy of trying to get it to where you don't have to use it. I will say that the only time I'll use mid-side stuff is most of the time I just push back on the mixing engineer. Is if it's going to vinyl. Oh, can you hear me? Yep. Okay. If it's going to vinyl and you have low end, like 40 hertz, 50 hertz, left and right going crazy, I'll like bring a high pass filter up the middle and make sure everything below 100 hertz or 80 hertz or 50 hertz is right down the center and not doing the split thing. If you send that to vinyl, it'll phase out and you're not going to get anything good. You're going to have a bad time. But if you want to jump on a call, Daniel, I'm happy to like explain that more. Peter, how important are gear and plugins? Is training your ears more important? I love this question, Peter. This is the right question to be asking. Training your ears is more important. Guys, I mastered the Skrillex song with plugins. Okay. Granted, I didn't use headphones, but I did. It's because my room's tuned. Getting your ears, your mind, your room dialed in is far more important than tools. In fact, on our like mastering mentorship program, we don't even touch an EQ until week 5. So the first 4 weeks we're like dialing in ears, room, mental template, mindset, training, all that stuff, mastering like 100 songs before we even like talk about EQ. That is how we do things. So hopefully that makes sense, Peter. Peter, that is an amazing question. If I want to talk to you, get on a call if you want to learn kind of more. And I'm just curious as to why you asked that, because it's the right question to ask. Oliver, do you put every time 2 limiter on the master? Or depends on the headroom you have to mix. Yeah, I put a limiter on everything. I just make sure I do that, and I always set the like output to 0.1 so it doesn't technically clip, just to show that that people that I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But again, if you want to jump on a call, Oliver, I'm happy to do that to get more in the weeds. There's a couple people asking how to register for the call. Just go to mastering.com/session, and that's how you would talk to me or one of our engineers. Stephen, sorry if I mispronounced that. Would you change any aspect of your thought process if you were mastering jazz or classical music? I love this question. You're going to love this answer or not. No, I wouldn't change my process at all. So there's tons of tutorials and videos and tips and tricks and how-tos of how to master for EDM, how to master for jazz, how to master for classical. That sort of genre-specific stuff is really great for creativity, the right brain. How do you produce that? How do you create sounds like that? How do you play like that? As soon as you get to mastering, you got to be way more objective. So what I do and what I teach as well, and like with mastering.com, is we don't have like multiple different genres. This is a philosophical mental template that applies to everything. So if this was a jazz project, I'd be doing the exact same thing. What's the main problem? Not enough low end. And you just keep going down that road. It's the mental template. My thought process does not change at all. That's the right question to be asking. Stephen, sorry. I think it's Stephen. Jump on a call though. I'm curious to hear more about why you asked that. That's such a good question. Oh, Shane, your question. Why don't you let the track sit in and listen to it? Why don't I let the track listen to it on different devices or different days to make sure the master is good? I think when you're starting out, you want to do that. But the big problem of why people do this is because they don't trust themselves and they don't trust their room. If you don't trust yourself, you'll be second guessing every decision you make. If you don't trust your room, you're going to go to different speakers. But the whole idea of to make sure the master sounds good means that there's this objective sort of truth fairy. Sorry, this is a really rude way to put it. That knows that knows what it should sound like, and we need to find it and tap into it. The way to overcome that is to become the objective truth fairy. And the way you do that is you train your ears, your mind, your room, and get it to a point where once you know that it's mastered and done, it's done. I mean, I master stuff. It takes me 8 to 12 minutes. I send it out, and I know it's good because my room's dialed in and my ears are dialed in. When you're starting out, though, you definitely want to do that. But to expedite the process, you just got to get your room dialed in and perfectly tuned. By the way, that's something we do. Is like, well, if you jump on a call with us and you wanted to like work further with us, we send you like a microphone and get your room dialed in. And I personally custom work with you to get your room dialed in. I want you all to know that like that's one of the major things you guys aren't getting really radio quality stuff is that you're not sitting in an objective listening environment and it's giving you this bad feedback loop. You're hearing something, you don't know what it actually sounds like, so you always are compensating. You guys probably always have like a compensation thing in your brain of, I know if I boost this, I know what it's really going to sound like in my car. You want to end that feedback loop immediately. And that's exactly like what we do. We spend like an entire couple weeks on that. O'Shane, if that, let me know if that makes sense, O'Shane. But jump on a call. I'd encourage you to jump on a call. By the way, guys, when you jump on a call, don't like shy away from the survey. You have to complete the survey if you actually want to get on a call. If you don't complete a survey, then you won't get the call. Sorry, guys, we're only doing this and it's limited availability, and we can only help so many people. So we're only going to help people who fill out the survey. Okay, back to it, guys. Got a lot of questions. Let's see here. Paul, basic question, as new to this, how do you boost volume to professional level without going to the red? What plugin is needed? It's the first question is an honest question. The what plugin is needed is the wrong way to think about it, Paul. So, it's the wrong question to ask. You can't think what or how. You got to think why. So, how do you boost volume to professional level without going to the red? That is 10 years of experience, right? It's not like, oh, simple. You just need to apply this plugin. Not at all. You need an inside out sort of training to go through that. So boosting volume to professional level, I can try to give you a simple answer. There's sonic processing that adds perceived loudness to where if you just get everything to the red and it's all good, but it sounds quiet, then you haven't addressed the sonic problems. So there's that thing is like, did you address it sonically? Or is it loud sonically with EQ? And then you just want to do gain staging between compressors and limiters to get it to that -9 RMS. It's not a plugin, it's a process. So Paul, you're definitely the kind of person I help. So like jump on the call and like I need to dive into that a little bit more, man, in order to help you. I won't be able to get into this on this call, but I'll definitely be able to, or me or one of our engineers are able to do it if you jump on this call. Matthew, do you approach mastering a single differently than mastering an album? I love the question. Okay, yes, we do. We being like me and our engineers and everybody I teach. Yes, I do. So the only difference is that mastering, believe it or not, mastering an album, I don't go in and master each song individually and then call it done. I will, you won't believe this. If there's 12 songs in an album, I won't go in and say, what's the main problem of one? What's the main problem of number 2? What's the main problem of track number 3? I won't do that. I'll go, what's the main problem of the entire record? You got to think 30,000 foot view, man. Like being able to be 30,000 foot view and then swoop in and land and then do that a million times is what makes a great engineer. So that's the approach, is that I'm much more forgiving and I make more compromises and I make global changes. But this is something we get into with our training, Matthew, is it just takes weeks to get there. So if you're curious about that more, like book a call. I'd love to talk to you more about it. Tom, when boosting cutting EQ on the master bus, is there a rule of thumb for max minimum amount of cut at each frequency? I love this, Tom. Okay, great question. Our rule of thumb that we teach is if you're boosting more than 6 decibels or so, then it's a mixing problem. So you go, okay, I'm boosting 12 decibels here, 12 decibels, like, okay, what's going on here? I now need to push back on the mix and change some things. So that's our sort of rule of thumb across the board for every frequency. So, I mean, we go into this way more in depth when like I'm mentoring people. So if you want to like ask follow-up questions, Tom, I'm curious to hear your thoughts around that. But that's the right question to ask, honestly. If you're boosting more than 6 or 7 decibels anywhere on the master, then you got to go back to the mix, dress it in the mix. Soon, hey Blake, do you usually master on headphones? No, I wouldn't recommend it. A big week in our program, what we do is like help get your room dialed in so that you don't use headphones. The only reason I'm doing headphones is, it's easier here and there's no feedback, right? So, um, either Andre or Andrea, when you spot a problem, do you keep the possibilities of using any kind of tool open? I love this. Or just EQ or comp? If you feel you might need something else, don't you do it regardless and try? I think I understand the question. Um, yes, I keep the possibilities of using any kind of tool open, 100%. I focus on the problem and the philosophical approach, and then the tool is just the tool. It's all about how you use the tools, not the tools themselves. But getting deeper into your question, or is it just EQ and compression? Basically, it is just EQ and compression. It's sonic and dynamic. If I'm going in there and putting a stereo widener, and I'm putting in a delay, and I'm putting in, 6 saturation plugins, it's like I'm mixing. You want to think big picture, sonic and dynamic processing. Let me know if that makes sense. I love that question. Yeah, like in our like program too, like we give you like all the tools you need, but like we don't even give that to you until the 6th week because you got to know how to use them first. Okay, Black Mirror Ball, cool name. How do you tackle pricing for labels or pro artist? What is your budget? Might get me underpaid. Sorry, I've got imposter syndrome big time. I asked because I did a freebie for a label last week. Oh man, we have a whole training on imposter syndrome, man. We got to knock that right out of you. Get on a call, dude. You got to get on a call with us because we got to get that knocked out, man. Generally speaking, with mastering, you just want to have flat rates. If you're doing bigger projects, whether it's producing or mixing, you always ask what your budget is. And let them kind of say the first thing. And then you'll go back and you'll go, you sort of have your set rates. And then if they don't meet that, like your set rates, then you change a few things. You change turnaround time, and then number of tracks is another one. So for example, if they say, I need this song done, a pro mix and master, and you charge, say, $300 for that, and they go, my budget's $100. You go, okay, well, I normally charge $300. See what they say. Or you go, I can charge $100, but it'll take me 6 weeks to get back to you. Or I can charge you $100, but you have to consolidate all 30 of your tracks down to 6 stems, and I'll mix it for you then. So that's a way to be flexible here. I teach that all in like what we do, like just super in depth. Yeah, you got to get some good pricing and once you start doing that, you'll start working with pro level artists too. It's this weird like catch-22. So Black Mirror Ball Q, I recommend you book a call with us. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more questions. Chainsaw Curtis, don't chainsaw me up, man. When are you listening in your control room? How loud do you listen to your mix? Very quiet. Very quiet. The only time I will turn it up and really crank it when I'm mastering is when I need to check the low end, anything below 100, just to make sure it's really dialed in and tight. And I'll crank it just to make sure that the 2 to 5K isn't too harsh. Because you can only figure that stuff out if it's loud, honestly. So other than that, really quiet. If you start mastering and mixing really quietly, you're going to hate it. It's going to be like, you're going to feel blind. You're going to be like flying blind. I highly recommend it, though. It makes you more critical listener. Boombox Universe, great name. I'm sure that was your given name. Hi, Blake. Is there a way to increase volume on a master without squashing the track too much? Does it depend on the quality of the limiter compressor, or maybe using 2 limiters? Yeah, there's not a quick answer to this. It's like saying, how do I get things sounding professional, right? It's a very general question. Honestly, Boombox, Mr. Universe, Mrs. Universe, whatever, I recommend you jump on a call because we got to get to the bottom of why you asked this. And there's probably more to it than this. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take your room, mentorship, all this. But honestly, it's how you use the tools. So, yeah, honestly, it's all about gain staging. It's using multiple tools to get there. I don't recommend just squashing it with a limiter, what everybody else does. I recommend very appropriately gain staging through your production process to your mix, to when you get to the master, you only have 2 compressors, like 1 compressor, 1 limiter. But jump on a call, like your app. That's totally a good question to ask because this is exactly what I talk about. Valentine, sorry. And David asking about room. How can you help me with my room? Oh, dude, like on like our sessions, like I'll customize rooms with you. Like I'll send you a mic. You'll like take a screenshot of things, send pictures, and like I'll help you customize your room to get it perfect and in tune. So yeah, if your room isn't perfect, then you won't be able to create amazing sounding stuff with on a whim. It'll just always be always quadruple checking every decision you make and every speaker that you have. Okay. But definitely jump on a call, guys, because like if you want room, we got room stuff, man. Like we give you all of that, and I help you work through all that. So absolutely jump on a call to get that. Let's see a couple more questions here. Let's see. We have Joshua and Alani. That's what. Then we'll wrap it up. So Joshua, granted, a fresh pair of ears can be useful. What would you tell people who are convinced the person that makes a song should master it? Oh man, I love this question. The whole like I want to get a fresh pair of ears on this is a cop out. I'm sorry. I know I'm getting recorded. You can put that on record. Okay. You didn't want a fresh pair of ears like from 0 to 90. Like the reason why this whole like fresh pair of ears on it is because you're so creative and you're in the process and you're mixing, you're producing, and you don't know what you're listening to anymore. What you really are saying is I want to get an objective pair of ears on it. So fine, you send it over to the mastering engineer, you get the objective pair of ears, and then they push back. Fine. But I'll tell you this, here's the secret. If you have the objective ears, it's better if you do it as opposed to going to the mastering engineer, because you're the one who has the vision of your song already dialed in your head. You know what it's supposed to sound like. All you're missing is an objective listening perspective, which somebody else has, and you need to adopt that. In fact, honestly, the reason why I started mastering.com, guys, is because I started mastering for everybody, and they were the one doing everything. They were mixing, they were producing, and I like gave them this objective second opinion. And many people just are like, hey, could you just show me what you do and how you think through things? And long story short, once I did, I worked myself out of a job and they never needed me anymore. And their masters sounded better than if I were to do it. Not because they got better than me, but because they're the ones who had the vision and the sound that they had in the first place. And as soon as I got the second set of ears into them, they improved their mixing and their production like instantly. So I love that question, Joshua. Like if you're actually serious about trying to unpack that question more, jump on a call, man. I really want to chat with you. Okay, last question, and then one more thing here. Alani Claire, how do I train my ears to know what I should change or not? I'm sorry. I'm overwhelmed with it, but I want to be a good engineer. Yeah, you just got to do it. Like in our program, like we give you like 200 songs to master, frequency training. You definitely don't want to go down the road of training your ears by mastering things and working through things to a non-objective environment. You want to get your room objective and you want to get your ears objective. So it's constantly doing exercises like I think it's called Audio Gym or something. That's something we recommend, but honestly, what you want to do is just always be mastering. But you really want to get your room dialed in and then yourself dialed in and know how to critically listen for things and then just do it. So Alani, like I would just recommend you jump on a call. So yeah, that's it, guys. The last thing I want to say is even if you like are like, yeah, I don't want to work with you, or I don't want to, I don't want to go into deeper details or anything like that. Still book a call, because the huge benefit of it's called Sound Gym. Sorry, guys. The huge benefit of booking a call is you're gonna get all these questions answered, but in depth. And you're going to realize, wait a second, I'm asking the wrong questions. Or maybe I should concentrate on my mixing. Or maybe I should concentrate on my room. Or maybe I can concentrate on my mastering. Or maybe I should concentrate on my rates. You're going to get a super detailed game plan. Like our dudes that like are on the other end of the phone are freaking amazing. They're all like great engineers. People have been through working with me. They're unbelievable. I'm like so shocked by how amazing they are. And they'll help you think through all that. And at the end of the day, you'll just get a ton of clarity. But if you want to like dive in more and go like, no, I really have to step up my game to get 100% radio ready quality, then just get on the phone, because we'll customize a game plan for you to make it make sense and fit in with your time, schedule, budget, all that stuff. So yep, you got to pick a slot, and then and then you got to enter in your details, and you have to fill out the survey on the next page. If you don't fill out the survey, we're just going to cancel it. So 100% go back and fill out the survey once you schedule the call. What's the time? Somebody's asking what the time commitment is for the training. It's honestly completely contingent on your own schedule. But that's what the call is for, to be honest. Is like you jump on the call and we like figure out the custom game plan for you. So it's not like we just have like a set thing and you got to show up at these times. It's not like that. It's way more customized and way more in depth. So it's all centered around your own schedule. Super, super. Like if you work 9 to 5 and have kids, like people can crush it at this. If you have all the time in the world, like you can just bang it out. So it's all customized to you, and it's for life too. So it's not like you complete the training. It's like you get to work with me for life if you wanted to. So, yep, that's all we got, guys. I guess that wraps up our time, guys. I just want to emphasize this whole like master.com/ session. It's just not going to be live for a long time, and we're not going to be doing this for a long time. So please book a call with us. Even if you're on the fence, just do it, because at the very least, one of the guys on the other end of the phone will be just like, hey, we shouldn't be talking. We're in the wrong. Like this isn't going to be helpful for you. Like we'll just be super honest and clear. Super, super excited that I'm able to do this for you guys. Literally, me and my team are the only thing we're doing is just talking to you guys. We love Musician on a Mission. Love Rob. Love everybody on the team. I'm like very, very excited for you guys, because at the end of the day, you can just take this is all free, right? You could take this. You've learned a lot, super informative. You can go apply this. What I really hope you do is you apply the philosophy and mindsets. And then if you want to dive in deeper and ask more questions and get more clarity on what it looks like to work closer with me, it's on a custom game plan for life, mentorship to get you to the next level. Jump on a call, and no pressure. We'll walk you through that. It doesn't even have to be a now thing. It's just like a matter of clarity. Either way, you're going to get a ton of clarity. Anyways, guys, I wish I had my bell. I usually have a bell here that I ring. Super, super jazzed that we were able to do this. Go crush it. I want you all to go from 90% to 100%. And I'm here to help you do that. So I have a really big heart in getting people to do that and put the power back in your hands. I don't want to hold the secrets to myself. So super glad that everything was enlightening. Thank you so much. Davey, Beth, Mr. JC Blues, all these awesome people. Roasted Battle Squirtle. I love this. You guys are all super great. We might not do this again, who knows, but I really had a fun time doing this. So everybody, peace out. Have a great week. Book a call 100% if you want to chat with me or my team. If you want to work with me for life, indefinitely, like for life, about any of this stuff, to raise your rates, to get really pro at this, to dial in your room, to get great at mastering, mixing, whatever. This is literally all that I do. So happy to help. Really, really, really loved doing this. And yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks, Brittany. Yeah, I'm so glad that you had fun here. We're good to go. All right. See you guys. Bye. Peace.